What up? Shit. My damn back is killing me, bro. God almighty. I think this might be the one.
To a tasting.
What up, guys? Pro gamer. This painting is sold. So to answer your question, yes, I sell paintings. This somebody paid me to do this. Yo, D, what's up?
Just real quick, because I was listening to the last call. I don't know how you guys do it, honestly.
Well, I didn't. I started screaming and hung up the phone. I'm not sure I did much different than a lot of folks would have done, right?
Oh, yeah, I know. You guys have a tremendous amount of patience.
Yeah, and we won't saddle you with the last caller. You have your own beliefs, and you're calling to talk about what?
Yeah. There's several that you've kind of on the topic of like the cosmological argument, stuff like that comes up and stuff like that. I've heard you say stuff like there's no example of nothing. And I'm just curious, can you kind of give me like an idea, like what do you mean by that?
Yeah, to me, the way that nothing is used in that context is sort of a logical contradiction, right? Like, so what happens to me is somebody says there was, before all of this universe, there was nothing. And I don't know what that means because I don't know how nothing could be. Was means it was, what is a to be state, and I don't think that it could be because being is existence. So if something existed, how could it be nothing?
Mm-hmm.
And that hangs me up.
Yeah. And it hangs me up too.
But then what I think is, if existence is necessary, if even nothing exists, then doesn't that mean there's no need for a creator?
Yeah, one more time, I'm not sure I understood.
If there's no such thing as non-existence, what needs to be created? We already have existence, right? I mean, if existence is all that could ever be, then what would be being created?
Honestly, I don't know.
I don't know either. That's what I'm saying. I'm not, this isn't like, some people sometimes think I'm doing this as like some tricky, I'm being the clever atheist, but it's not. This is like, I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And I don't, it might, I'm the first one to say, I mean, I've heard about the the physics of nothing and how there's these like wave states or whatever it is. And I'm sorry if I butchered it with that phrase. I don't know. I'm always, like, I'm not the physicist. And I know that they're saying there's like this something that they label nothing as a proprietary jargonistic thing, and I don't have an objection to that. But that's not what usually is being meant when people are having a theological discussion. They're saying like, you believe there was nothing. And I'm like, no, I can't even imagine nothing. I don't even, and it's not even a lack of, I can't imagine it, therefore it can't be possible. What I'm saying is that how would that be if it can't be, or if it wasn't? That's the part that blows my mind.
Sure. Yeah, because not to be like on that train where people are like, oh, it's just semantics or whatever, you just think word games or being dishonest or something like that. Like, I believe you're sincere in what you're saying. But it's just the way that, like you said, like, I don't, like, nothing can be because it's like describing something that is, stuff like that.
Yeah, be wouldn't even make sense. Like, you couldn't even use the be verbs. How could you?
Yeah.
Just have to say everything wasn't. Right? I mean, you'd have to describe it in some kind of term like that. And even if you did, then if...
I'm still stuck on that something from nothing. If there was always something, what use would you have for a creator? But that's the thing, like, if so what we understand to be matter has always been in existence. There has always been something here to this plane, this dimension, this reality that we perceive using our senses. Matter has been here for all of infinity. Like, but it just, I don't know, like, it doesn't seem like that something cannot have a beginning or an end, where something came from. But then at the same time, it's almost impossible to conceive nothing and then something. But just saying that something was here and that's just how it is. It's just here and it's always been here and stuff has always been here. And there is no beginning to it. And that's where God comes in at. And that's what mankind has created to explain this fucking conundrum of where did stuff come from. We're made out of stuff. Like, where did it come from? God did it. Really? Really? Did you? God? And then you say, well, where did God come from? Oh, God just was. It is, well, they always make it masculine because God is a man. You understand that, right, ladies? You do know that, right? Women, that God is a man. Where did God come from? He was always here. He just is. And then that concept, instead of saying God, you change God into matter, and the different energies that are the different phenomena that we can interact with that are called energies and shit, like, so that's God. And that's what I think, like, the little tiny parts that science can't figure out. Science can figure out a lot of big pictures as long as the puzzle pieces are hand size and they can fit things together. But the smaller the puzzle pieces get, you can't really fit. It's hard to grip it and like fit all the pieces together. And we can see some of the pieces and we can understand that they do correlate in some kind of way, but we can't get it. That's the God part. What was before the Big Bang? God. What is God? The infinite universe. All of the matter and everything that's inside of it and outside of it is God. Now, is God conscious? We don't know. Does God write commandments on slates of stone? Definitely not. Definitely not. But there is absolutely that one layer that's in between science and religion that we're going to have to figure out how to merge. And I don't know what they at CERN said, they found the God particle and all of that stuff. You're going to have to call it something. It doesn't have to be God, but it's the singularity or the fucking event horizon. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's and then on some strange level, I kind of do think that, well, this is just a personal belief, that the universe is aware of itself. Like that's the little extra step that I take in my mind to make it all make sense to me, is that consciousness is real, it's universal, and even if this original source doesn't actively have a part to play in what's going on and what we know as reality, but it is certainly conscious and aware of itself in some sense.
But then what was? And like nothing was. And now you're back to this. Yeah, it's like a loop, you know? I mean, it's. I don't know.
Yeah, so it just kind of seemed like maybe saying like, say pre-Big Bang there was nothing, and then saying what does that mean or what is nothing? It always sounded to me like it was like kind of a question that didn't make sense to me. Saying, give me an example of nothing, because wouldn't that mean you're giving me an example of something?
Yes, it would. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
nothing seems to be a contextual thing, right? Like if I say a bowl is empty, there's nothing in it. It just means that, it's got no contents as far as like what people would expect there to be in a bowl, right? I mean, that's as much meaningful context as I can wrap around nothing. And I think this might be why people, think about it and they're like, this is so mysterious, because it is a little mind-blowing. And if I was high right now, I'd be like just freaking out. Like this, So, I mean, that's as much meaningful context as I can wrap around nothing. And I think this might be why people, think about it and they're like, this is so mysterious, because it is a little mind-blowing. And if I was high right now, I'd be like freaking out. Like this, So, yeah, it to me, it's not just a semantic thing. It's like a logical contradiction thing. And it may be a problem with language, right? Like it could be just a problem with the language that can't wrap around something like that. I don't know.
But I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's not. I'm not trying to do a gotcha thing. It's got nothing to do with that. It's just literally, I don't get it. And when people try to explain to me, and they try to explain it, I usually just see them basically finding, other ways of describing things that were or that weren't, or that couldn't be because being would be. Right?
Something.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's something of a paradox. Like an example, like I kind of thought of, I think the other day, where I was thinking about it, was to ask for an example of nothing. To me, was kind of like the equivalent of saying, if somebody asked, well, what did Tom say? And then you said nothing, and someone said, well, give me an example of not saying anything. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, you could say, I asked him what he had for breakfast today, and he just sat there, didn't speak. I mean, I could describe Tom not saying anything, which would be the same as saying, saying nothing, because that's how we would understand it, as he did not say anything. But to me, if I say, everything wasn't, and I'm like, could that be?
Yeah, why wouldn't that fit the same way?
Because it's a totality, right? Like it's a there's no context in which there would be an expectation. So when you say there is, we've got everything, but what if everything wasn't? And then it, to me, raises the question, then what would be?
Mm-hmm. If there wasn't anything.
If everything wasn't. What?
Yeah.
Yo, I forgot about that shit that fast.
Let's travel to swim meets every Saturday.
Yo, this is about to be something crazy, but it's gonna affect me directly more than likely.
You felt the explosion. This is not just a refinery. In fact, we've just got video coming in. Hopefully we can run it. That's a live look at the actual fire now. But let's be clear. The Philadelphia Energy Solutions refinery, 330,000 barrels a day, the biggest refinery on the East Coast, blew up about 30 minutes ago. And that explosion, like I said, actually was felt tens of miles away. That is the video of the explosion. I want you to watch this, guys. It's on fire. And you're going to... That is the largest oil refinery in the East Coast, like I said. Now, Philadelphia Energy Solutions, who are they? They're a private company. They filed for bankruptcy last year. They came out of bankruptcy earlier this year, but it's part of a joint venture, guys, between the Carlyle Group, Sunoco, and...
So he goes on to say, gas prices are going to go up. Like, what the fuck? Gas prices are going up.
Carlyle Group is a global alternative asset management group. In a nutshell, they buy and sell companies using private investors' money. The story of the Carlyle Group is the story of a new kind of capitalism emerging in America. We'll start the story with this guy, Frank Carlucci. He had served in a variety of government positions, but from 1987 to 1989, he was serving as the United States Secretary of Defense for Ronald Reagan. He changed the rules on procurement at the Pentagon so that companies would be put on long-term supply contracts. He also had to cooperate with Operation 111 Wind, an investigation looking into corruption at the Pentagon with officials being bribed to secure large defense contracts. 6 days after he finished his term as Defense Secretary, he went straight to the Carlyle Group. And he advised Carlyle to take a look at a company called BDM. They had been hit hard by Operation Wind, and their share price had plummeted. Eventually, Carlyle acquired BDM for $130 million. It was a steal, because it turned out that BDM were on a long-term contract with the Pentagon. Is it possible that a person like Frank Carlucci might have known which companies were on long-term contracts and which were not? Who knows? But the Carlyle Group sold BDM in 1997 for $975 million. After Frank Carlucci came the appointment of James Baker. He had worked in politics for 18 years. He led presidential campaigns for President Ford, Reagan, and Bush. He'd served as Chief of Staff, as Secretary of the Treasury, and eventually as Secretary of State under George Herbert Walker Bush. He was and is a big deal.
People know me. I'm kind of a big deal.
But it wasn't going to just be former White House staff joining the ranks at Carlyle. Before long, the former president himself, George Bush Sr., would be giving speeches on Carlyle's behalf. He was senior advisor to Carlyle.
Now, how I know about the Carlyle Group is researching 9/11. Because you know who else is partners with the Carlyle Group? At the same time that George Herbert Walker Bush was in office? The Bin Laden family. And that motherfucker got all kind of footage sitting at tables and making big deals with the Bin Laden family. And giving Bin Laden all the fucking tactical weaponry support, information, intel, all that shit. And then help them motherfuckers go to war. And then in the early 2000s, they turned on the Bin Ladens and said, oh, Osama is responsible for 9/11. Now, you've been doing business with these people's family for fucking decades, bro. And now, but that shit jumped at me the first time I heard the news report. It was like, oh, the biggest refinery on the East Coast is owned by the Carlyle Group. Carlyle, what the fuck they got going on over there, man? I know y'all like making shit blow up. Shit better not be no goddamn some little scheme, like I say, to just fucking jack gas prices up, to rebuild, and now they get more. See, this thing when shit like that go wrong, man, most of the contracts to rebuild that shit is government contracts. All the cleanup, all that shit, man, it's a gas refinery. Man, they water, they topsoil, all that shit got to go. All government contracts to go in there and get more money to rebuild this shit bigger and better. Like, that should be some weird ass shit. And then the Carlyle Group is involved in that shit. It could have been a complete accident. Somebody fell asleep at the wheel, shit got hot, gas, flame, ba-boom. Hey, it always some shit like, oh, our refinery is not passing code right now. In order for this shit to pass codes and update and upgrade, we have to do this. You know what? Blow this shit up. Blow it up. We'll just build a new one. Fuck it. My homeboys need some contract money anyway. The Fourth Reich. I got it. All right, I'll peep that. Yeah, Henry Ford was fucking friends with the Nazis. A lot of American companies, IBM was friends with the Nazis. GE, old ass companies, yo. The motherfucking company's been around for a long time, bro. Friends with the Nazis. Uh, Percival Bush, or Percy, what's his name? George Bush granddaddy. Not George Herbert Walker, but Herbert Walker daddy. His name was Prescott. Prescott Bush. This motherfucker was laundering money for the Nazis through American banks. I wouldn't doubt it.
Asia Investment Board. Neither the Carlyle Group nor the former president have been forthcoming in the way that he was remunerated for his relationship with the Carlyle Group. The former South Korean president, Park Tae-joon, was also now working for Carlyle, and he'd helped them secure nearly $1 billion in Koram Bank. So when George Bush Jr. gave the United States a pretty radical change in policy towards North Korea.
North Korea is a regime arming with missiles and weapons of mass destruction while starving its citizens. States like these and their terrorist allies constitute an axis of evil, arming to threaten the peace of the world by seeking weapons of mass destruction.
It did not go down well in South Korea. It caused a lot of tensions when the new policy provoked North Korea into doing what it does best, issuing threats. And threats and instability are not good for business. It was widely reported at the time that Daddy Bush, still acting in his role of Carlyle's Asia advisor, sent a strongly worded memo to his son through a former ambassador, and he argued that he should continue negotiations with North Korea, and sure enough, by July...
Yeah, the largest oil refinery on the East Coast blew all the way up. And it just happened to be in the same state that I live in. Who you think gonna be affected by that shit first? Ain't nobody in Philly got gas right now. Yo. This motherfucker named Tim.
Child have a serious medical condition, such as...
That's like the X-Files old TV show. What you call it? Mulder would meet up with the cigarette smoking man. Word. I wouldn't doubt it, bro. I wouldn't doubt it. We're just gonna call you Tim. Cause you can't come into the country no other kind of way. You know what I'm saying? And then like even on the day of 9/11, they said that there's like 20 something members of the Bin Laden family were living in the US. And all the planes got grounded on 9/11. Nobody not flying nowhere. Except the Bin Laden family. They had a private plane leave from America and take their ass back home. 26 people. I'm like, huh? Y'all must be got the hood pass, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got the real good pass. Nobody can fly. We had a major terrorist attack. We got buildings down. We got planes crashing. Nobody can fly. Except y'all. Come on, y'all good. Hurry up. Come on. How many? 24, 25, 26. All right, they on. Let's go. Word? And y'all know each other since when? The 80s? Y'all work together with who? The Carlyle Group. You get more money with the Carlyle Group than you get being president. Who your friend is? Who your daddy? Whoever giving you the most money. You just used the presidency as connects. You know what I'm saying? That's like if I'm a teacher and I want to sell weed at school. You know, that's it. I got the authority. Y'all my students. But I got some stuff for y'all too, because my homie, he got the real... Oh, you want one? You want one? Now, don't tell nobody we doing this.
Do you agree that in general, it's better to believe things...
That's how hot they said. No, that's what they were saying about the jet fuel in the planes anyway. Like it couldn't burn that hot. We talked about something from nothing again for a little while. A major, the largest oil refinery on the East Coast in Philadelphia blew up early this morning. And we were talking about the Carlyle. So the oil refinery led us to the Carlyle Group, and the Carlyle Group led us to the Bush family, and they connections with the Carlyle Group would led us to the Bin Laden family, and they connections with 9/11, and some other random facts about 9/11 that people don't really know. Is like, yeah, it couldn't have been that hot because it would have fried humans, like, and people were in the buildings waving, and then when the flames really got on them, that's when people started jumping out of the buildings instead of being burnt alive. But that heat is like disintegrating heat, and that's what most analysts say is that the jet fuel from those planes was not significant enough to melt steel beams. And then you go to the company that made the steel beams that were put into the fucking Twin Towers. And they themselves will say, yo, our product was the highest standard. It would not have failed. These were very, very significant structures when they were built. Some of the tallest buildings right downtown. And the architects, the engineers, the designers, the guys who made the fucking steel and concrete, they stood by their work 100% and said that shit should not have happened to that building. We built that shit. That building was built. That shit have swayed 4 feet in the wind. That's how strong and sturdy that shit was. This shit ain't going no way. And then they had a mesh. The outside of it was like an exoskeleton mesh. And they already contemplated, okay, what if it's fucking cloudy? Like the helicopter crash landed on a building just a couple of weeks ago in New York. Shit happens. A complete accident. So these buildings are tall as fuck. What if it's really foggy and rainy and the pilot is drunk and disoriented and he flies a plane into this fucking building? Can it withstand the impact? Yeah. And they said so. Yeah, it would withstand multiple impacts and still stay standing. But, oh, the temperatures were so hot that it weakened the steel beams, which caused the collapse. And once the initial collapse started, it caused the pancake effect, which brought the buildings down. Shit is all a fucking lie, bro. The whole shit is a lie. A pancake effect? Really? Like you would see the building. If the floors came crashing down on top of each other, you would still see a stack of floors, a building that's gotten shorter. And that's it. And it is still there. The towers were disintegrated. They blew outward and turned into dust. The whole building just turned into dust and file cabinets full of papers and stuff just flying all around the city. There was no building left. Like, where did the building go? What happened to the building? It was made out of steel and concrete. And it was here. And then you said it fell. And then it fell where? Everywhere? No, this shit exploded. The whole building, both of them, exploded. The explosion in Philly is a cover-up? A Trump missile strike called down? I don't see any some new news reports on anything from Trump. Missile strikes. They're only talking about some stuff from 2 years ago. So Trump says U.S. was cocked and loaded before he called off strike on Iran. Because we always got to make some dick jokes. I'm cocked and loaded. Like, Really? Cocked and loaded to strike Iran before he pulled back by Jeremy Diamond. Let's see, CNN, President Donald Trump on Friday. Trump said that Friday he called off an attack on Iran as the U.S. was cocked and loaded to strike because he decided there would be too many deaths for a proportionate response of the downing of the U.S. drone earlier this week, and cocked and loaded to retaliate last night on 3 different sites. When I asked how many will die, 150 people, sir, was the answer from a general. Trump tweeted 10 minutes before the strike, I stopped it because so many casualties, he added, would not have been proportionate to shooting down an unmanned drone. Trump also said that he is in no hurry to torture the U.S. military, as by far the best. What? Oh, in no hurry. The U.S. military, as by far the best in the world, is what Trump said. And said he had imposed new sanctions against Iran last night. It was unclear what sanctions Trump was referring to. CNN has reached out to the Treasury Department, the National Security Council, for a comment. It's also unclear why the president only learned of the casualty estimates after he had first ordered the attack and minutes before the U.S. strikes were to hit the targets. In an interview with NBC on Friday, Trump went into more details about the decision and said no planes were in the air at the time it was made. I thought about it for a second and I said, you know what? They shot down an unmanned drone, plane, whatever you want to call it. And here we are sitting with 150 dead people that would have taken place probably within a half an hour after I said go ahead, and I didn't like it. I didn't think it was appropriate, he said. Nothing was green lighted until the very end because things changed, Trump added. We had something ready to go. Subject to my approval, he added, saying planes were not in the air when the order was pulled back, and he would have been pretty soon, Trump said. Oh, so he's the kind-hearted savior president now? It was just an unmanned drone. How many people are gonna die? 150? Nah. Don't kill him this time. Don't kill him this time. You know what? Matter of fact, call the news in here. Tell the news how good of a person I am. Hey, look. I don't think it's proportionate. You know, it was an unarmed drone, plane, whatever you want to call it. Good job, Trump, for not killing people. Guys, a lot of little weird things going on this morning. We got refineries blowing up, Trump stopping missile strikes because he was cocked and loaded. He really trying to get this damn second term in there, bruh. He know he gonna get it, but he want to go in there looking cool and suave, like, see how much I've learned over the past 4 years. I've talked with tons of black people. I went to Puerto Rico. Hell, I went to North Korea. I think that is probably like the biggest thing, yo. I ain't gonna lie. I know Obama went down to Cuba and was fucking with the Cubans and shit because we had sanctions on them forever and trade embargoes and all that stuff. And then Trump was like, yo, Cuba, baby. And Obama was like getting better relations with Cuba again. But Trump went to North Korea. I was like, what the fuck? No, he up to something. And then he banned people from going to Cuba again. Like, Cuba's beautiful. It's nice weather. They got the good cigars. What did you just trying to reverse everything Obama did just to do that shit. And now you want praise because you saved 150 people from a drone strike because maybe one or two people shot down a fucking drone that y'all shouldn't even be flying their fucking country anyway. What the fuck you doing over there? You don't live there. Get your soldiers and get all your unmanned aircraft and get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. That's how I feel. If China came over here and occupied us, you ain't got to be in no military. You'll fight back just because you think this is your home. Right? You ain't had no Chinaman come up in your house. And got guns in your damn head. You can't understand what the fuck they saying. Then they got one translator out all of them. Look, man, he says, give up all your weapons and everything now. Are we going to be forced to kill you? And you be like, nah, I'm fighting back. I'm going to fight back. I would fight back. And that's how every other country feel when America come and they stomping around. Oh, y'all got bad guys over here. Oh, don't stomp on me, motherfucker. Ain't nobody call y'all over here. The UN said, the UN, bitch, I wasn't at no UN meet. I don't know nothing about that shit. All I see is American tanks everywhere. And now y'all say y'all was gonna bomb us, but you changed your mind about bombing us. And you get some paper towels. And you get some paper towels. Yo, Trump said, there's like we need money, we need donations for power repairs, and we have many dead people. He's like, dead people. How many people died? 16? 15, 16? Y'all only had 16 people die. I mean, that's bad, but we had Katrina. I mean, like hundreds of people died in Katrina, you know, and so it ain't really the same because y'all ain't really had a lot of people die. Like I know some families have been hurt, but compared to Katrina, like y'all storm wasn't even that bad. Here, you get some paper towels and you get some paper towels. A bonjour.
Bonjour, j'espère que vous passez une bonne journée. Profitez du ruisseau.
Was that? Did she say it right? She better have. She a damn computer. They better know how to say everything right. Thank you about the painting too, man.
Bonjour, j'espère que vous passez une bonne journée. Profitez du ruisseau.
French sounds like you just ate a lemon. Mon ami, for croissants. Like, you eat lemons all day? What is that? Bonjour. Oh, that's what's up. Technology. What? With this, I can speak Japanese. I can have my phone speak Japanese to you, or French, or Arabic, Swahili. What? And then, now they got a device that looks like a little earbud, and it can just take the audio sounds of a person's voice and translate it right in your ear. So while somebody talking Japanese, they're speaking Japanese to you. And then your ear is saying it in English, though. Man, that shit crazy. Just be walking up in Germany like, yo, snitcher doodle, motherfuckers. And they gonna be like, oh, yeah. What up, what up? Old man hands. I gotta stop doing that. My fucking hands be getting tight though. So Trump thinks he's somebody now. Okay. What were we going back to?
Comport with reality than things that do not. That things will be better in your life if you actually make informed decisions that are most likely to be true.
Yes, given one condition, given that it can be examined.
Well, so, I mean, but if it can't be examined, would you have a position on it? Why would you have a position at all?
Yeah, that's what's up. The Painter and the Muse. I'm gonna check back to see some more info on that
Attention church
oil refinery
parishioners. If you were abused by a
later.
member of the
Yo, I ate. Well, I didn't even eat yet. I had a shake kind of late, but now I got the munchies. I'm just stating the obvious. Shouldn't have waited so late to have my shake. I'm trying not to rhyme. I'm honestly not.
To ask what would there be, kind of again, that's like it gives me headaches.
Yeah, me too. I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. I don't think I'm not saying.
And there you go with that shit. Why you had to? I mean, you ain't had to tell me that, bro. You over there? Yeah. See, I need turkey rubber, nigga. Some apple chips. Now my hungry just like do. Just even thinking about that shit. Damn. Not the turkey. Let me get a Reuben. All right, a turkey, motherfucker. Turkey Reuben. It's like I go to this restaurant. Let me get a cheesesteak. A chicken. A chicken cheesesteak, bro. Watch it now. It's fucked up, bro. I don't need how you do be like that. Eating a turkey Reuben. Apple chips. This motherfucker fancy. Okay. What you got to drink? That ain't the sandwich you can eat with no drink. Now a bologna sandwich with some mayonnaise, you might slide by. That Reuben, it too many ingredients on there, man. You gotta have something to wash that thing down. It ain't that early in the day neither. Oh, you got the good water. You got that good water. This motherfucker got name brand water and shit. Like Nikes. Syrian. I got this shit right here. This motherfucking Poland, bro. You don't know about that Poland Springs. Shit comes straight from the tap in Pennsylvania. That shit is nowhere near Poland. That's what kind of water I got. Smoke water. Smoke flavored. Smoke infused. Citrus water. I think I'm on to something. THC infused water, bruh. Mineral water. But if I'm sitting here thinking about it, that means somebody smarter than me already thought about it, and they either figured out it was a dumb idea or it's a really good idea, and they got it in production already. Because that's the new thing now. Because it's going to pop soon. So you got to make everything and then add weed to it. Boom, new product. Sports drinks, alcoholic beverages, cigarettes, ice creams and desserts and snacks. Add weed to it. Cause it's the new cash crop. Weed gonna be like a #1 ingredient, like motherfucking high fructose corn syrup. You're gonna see hemp oil, hemp seed oil, or goddamn cannabis extract, and every goddamn thing. Watch what I tell you. I'm not making this shit up, man. This is all speculatory, but it will come to fruition. I'm telling you now. Ain't no other way around it. I really should be painting right by now. We'll get to that in a minute. Who in the hell is texting messaging me?
That I'm brilliant or that this is clever, and it might be something really that simple that I'm not getting. I'm not, making.
No, I love analogies more than anyone probably, but I don't think there's any analogy that works here because no matter what you come up with, it's a something.
It's a contextual thing.
Tom not saying anything. Yeah. I have seen people not saying anything.
Did when I was in the shower just now, but
and like the bowl can be empty, and it's never. We could always make an argument that there is, technically always something in that space. But it has to do with the meaning of it, right? Like what we mean by it. Does it have apples? Does it have a screwdriver? Does it have, what's in the bowl? Mm-hmm. There's nothing in the bowl. It just means that it doesn't have contents in the sense of what people would expect. But that's not what we're saying when we say that there's no thing, right? No thing at all. And I don't know what to make of it. It's a little bit beyond my ken personally, and that's all I can say. And if that's a shortcoming of my ken's, I'm not saying that it couldn't be.
Yeah, and honestly, like from if there is no God, and there was a point in like time, or that's hard to say, but if there was at some point nothing, that would be remarkable. And like I can't remember what
I'd like to see that, nothing. I would like to see what the nothing looks like.
I read a book sometime where sorry, I have a cold.
That's all right.
I read a quote sometime somewhere, I can't remember who it was, said that whether God exists or does not exist, they're equally amazing. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. I kind of agree with that.
I think it's a deepity, but
I think it's a deepity too.
Is it a deepity or a deepity? I don't know.
I call it a deepity.
Anyway.
It's just it's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, was that it? Because we got a lot of calls lined up, or was there anything else? Was it just the nothing strangeness?
Real quick.
Okay.
No, just one thing real quick. the special pleading fallacy, that doesn't necessarily, like, even if something is a special pleading like fallacy, it doesn't necessarily mean that what the fallacy is representing is necessarily true, right?
I don't even know what you just asked.
Nigga,
So,
what is you
to
talking
give an
about?
example of, like, someone saying, I believe that God is the cause of the universe. Well, what caused God? Well, nothing. He's timeless or uncaused. That would be special pleading, right?
Yeah, if you're going to say that the universe has to have a cause because nothing can be uncaused, and then say the thing that caused it was uncaused, that would be a problem, yes.
Okay. But like in that example, it's because it's a special pleading fallacy, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not true, though, right?
Well, no, it means that it's faulty in that the reason you're saying a creator is needed is because there can't be uncaused things. And then you're saying there's an uncaused thing that caused the things. And so what's happening is you're creating a need for a creator by saying that things can't be uncaused, and then you're plugging in something that's uncaused. So there's something wrong. The original claim is either wrong, because there are things that are uncaused, in which case you should say there are things that could be uncaused, and I think there is one that caused other things, such as this universe.
Mm-hmm.
It strikes me as being like a magic trick where they're like, see?
But when you ask,
I've got something up my sleeve.
But when you ask, like, why do you think that a God created the universe? If your answer is because everything has to have a cause, then you have a problem. Or all things that begin to exist have to have a cause. It's kind of how they try to work around it. All things that begin to exist have a cause, and God never began to exist. And it's like, okay, well then I got to figure out, did the universe always exist and it's just been changing? And it's just in this current incarnation, and we just don't know how to backtrack it to see what was before. I mean, I don't know. These are big physics questions.
If there is no God, though, and the universe did have a beginning, the Big Bang,
Okay.
is it unreasonable? Given the evidence that we have for like cosmology and stuff like that? Is it unreasonable to believe that the universe must have had a cause?
I think that in general, physicists would say that it does have a cause. This is kind of outside my range.
Yeah.
But I would say that generally the Big Bang is put forward as the cause, and usually there's a good essay. I don't know if it's still timely, but it was written by Stephen Hawking called what is it? The universe. It was about time in the universe, and I'm trying to think of what it was. Beginning of time, maybe? Let me just Google this real quickly.
Yeah. If you've seen Neil deGrasse Tyson's Cosmos series, I can't remember which episode it's in, but he covers this quite brilliantly. I feel...
no, I haven't. I'll definitely look for that.
Yeah, I do, because it's the first time that I ever felt close to understanding infinity, which is a bizarre thing, the way that it was presented.
I don't really
Here
like
it is. It's called The Beginning of Time.
Tyson though, man. Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he's like one of the only black scientists we can go to. He's an astrophysicist, and he is really popular. He is really well known, and it's just, I don't know. He's really pompous and not arrogant. I can't really think of the word, but he likes to be the center of attention, and sometimes when he speaks or if he's in a conversation or giving a lecture or something, it seems like he tries to be funnier than what he really is. It's like, dude, like I can tell when he's trying to make a joke. It's just to be funny though, man. And then I remember, like, I think he interviewed Elon Musk, and Elon can make some funny jokes every once in a while. He'll say something kind of funny, but for the most part, he's a serious dude, and he has serious shit on his mind, and he's trying to figure out serious problems or serious innovations to help us. And like Tyson was just like joking the whole time, just making jokes, laughing, like ha ha ha. I'm like, dude, like this is one of the most brilliant minds on the fucking planet right now. like, let's be serious with this dude and dig and pick his brain, like, because Elon does a lot of interviews and he gets asked a lot of the same questions all the time. Like, I was hoping that Neil would just ask some new questions, or, you know, like, I don't know. He's kind of weird, though.
I'll definitely look for that.
Yeah, I do, because Cosmos.
Oh, beginning of time, maybe? Let me just Google this real quickly.
Yeah, if you've seen Neil deGrasse Tyson's Cosmos series, I can't remember which episode it's in, but he covers this quite brilliantly. I feel.
No, I haven't. I'll definitely look for that.
Yeah.
What happened just before the Big Bang? You asked that. I said we have no clue. And let me follow that up. What is wrong with the word before? Is this a question of when did time start, or just to deal with that? No, there's nothing wrong before. We just don't have any data. We just don't have any data. I don't mind going into negative time. I have no problem with that. I don't mind resetting where the 0 point is. Time is just where you put the 0 is arbitrary, as it continues to be this day with calendars. We use a Christian calendar that's related to Jesus. Muslims got one related to Muhammad, and the Chinese have one, and I forgot who they dated that from. The Jews have. Everybody's got a calendar with their starting point, and so the starting point is just where you want to put it. And so right now, a pretty good starting point is the Big Bang. We don't know how to put it earlier than that, but if the day comes where a whole new kind of understanding of the universe reveals to us before that, I don't have any problems pushing the 0 point back or just counting into negative years. I don't have any problems with that. You have no problem with it, but is it something that we could one day look forward to finding the answer to, or do you think that there is some kind of barrier between the word before and the answer to the question? I am undaunted by the limitations of words we use. Just because we date the beginning of time at the Big Bang does not prevent me from thinking about before, even in the absence of data. I'm open to what could possibly be going on before the Big Bang, number one. Number two, right now we have no clue how to look there. We just don't. Do I think there's a forever barrier? That simply wouldn't be wise, given the history of science, about which I do a fair amount of study. And I take my cues from great thinkers of the past, some of whom believed they had hit a boundary, believed the end was right there in front of them. And then sure enough, a cleverer person than they comes along and says, well, you idiot, just sit down and get out of my way. There's a problem I'm solving. And they don't call them idiots, but it's a lesson in the belief that you happen to be alive at a time where we've reached the end of knowledge. That itself is hubris. That itself has the implicit assumption that you are smart enough to know that we've reached the end of knowledge. Admit the possibility that someone could be born after you who's cleverer than you, cleverer than me, who will solve all the problems that we are now scratching our heads on.
Because science doesn't know. He said it too. Nobody knows. There is.
Hey, Neil, I'm curious about your thoughts on somewhat combining creationism with the Big Bang. Although I am agnostic, I was raised Catholic, and I always wonder why no one seems to consider that a possible higher power is behind the Big Bang and consequently dark matter. So do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, from a scientific standpoint, you cannot speak to this because you're speaking about, the fact of a creator or some higher power creating this.
Oh, sure you can. If you can. Well, so let me be clear.
Okay.
This, if there's a higher power that did anything in the universe, There's no reason why that should be beyond the ability of science to determine that.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Interesting.
So if you do science properly, you're not precluding any one explanation relative to another.
Okay.
If you're on the frontier of discovery.
Right.
Okay. So I'm not going to say there is no higher power there, and let me find something else. If the higher power is there and it manifests, then my methods and tools find it. I'll be the first one to report it.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
I'll be up right there at the front of the press conference. Okay.
Right.
So just make that clear. And let's back up. This is a deep question here.
It is.
Got more going on than she may even know.
Okay.
Okay. After Einstein advanced the general theory of relativity in 1916,
Right.
it was, oh my gosh, the universe, there's gravity and it shapes the universe in this way. And then in 1929, Hubble discovers that the universe is expanding.
Right.
You take general relativity and the data that the universe is expanding, and a clever physicist named Georges Lemaitre,
Okay.
he was a Belgian physicist, looked at that and he said, wait a minute, if we're expanding and I have this new tool, theoretical tool to understand the whole universe, let's go back in time and ask, what would the universe have been yesterday compared with today?
Right.
It would have been smaller.
Right.
Let's go even smaller.
Smaller.
Take it all the way back.
So we go all the way back. We got to get down to a singular.
The
Right.
beginning of things.
Right.
This person is a Belgian priest,
Oh.
an ordained priest.
He must have drank some good beer.
Little Belgian beer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that there's beer in the church. I think it's all wine. Okay. It's the body and blood of Jesus, not the body and beer of Jesus. That's
I'm
the
not
ritual.
Catholic.
That's right.
It was the body and beer, Jesus. I've been hanging out. Here's to you, Padre. Go ahead.
So people immediately said, "Oh my gosh, you have found proof of biblical creation."
Oh, really?
They said this to him, and he, a Belgian priest, came all back in their face and said, "No."
What?
Because the Bible says the universe was created in 6 days. The Bible says Earth was created before the sun. There's a lot going on in Genesis that is scientifically untenable.
Right.
But now you want to take just a little bit. There's a God created it and say, oh, therefore it proves the Bible when nothing else that follows it
Right.
has any anchoring in observational science.
Right.
He was smart enough to know that this, when I say smart enough, he was sensible enough to know that this should not be invoked as evidence for God creating Genesis as described in the Jewish Bible, in the Old Testament.
Old Testament.
So, because nothing else works there.
Right.
Okay, nothing.
Right.
Okay, Earth is in the middle of things. Everything revolves around the Earth. Earth is flat. So this goes on and on and on. So he knew enough about the Bible and about science to not make that connection.
Gotcha.
So now, so by the way, higher power could be God, or it could be some intelligent alien in its basement programming our universe for its own entertainment. That would be a higher power.
Wow.
If you think about it.
Yes, that would be a higher power.
Yes.
That guy's really effed up, man. If that's the guy, hey dude, if you're in your basement right now,
your parents' basement, it's the alien version.
You little pimply faced alien bitch, you. This is effed up what you just did.
Then I wonder if we are a simulation
Right.
programmed by a higher power. Maybe they get bored every now and then, and they throw something to just throw in something in the mix.
A little glitch in the matrix.
Little glitch in the matrix.
Right.
You know, they throw down a disruptive politician or a world war.
Right.
Or
that would explain so much.
Right? What? Ooh, completely explain it.
Oh, God.
Everything's going along just fine and tranquil, and they say, nope. You're not entertaining me anymore.
Lodite, watch this. Look at what I do right here. How many times have I told you to stop screwing with those people? Yeah.
So, but a broader reference to that question is,
right.
We don't know what happened before the Big Bang, and we also don't know what dark matter is, nor dark energy.
Right.
If you, and I've said this before, and listen to my words very carefully.
Mm-hmm.
If your understanding of God
right.
flows through places where science has yet to tread.
Right.
Because these are frontiers.
Right.
Before the Big Bang. Mm-hmm. If that's your concept of God,
right,
then the history of this exercise shows us that God would then be an ever-receding pocket of scientific ignorance.
Well, of course. I mean, that only makes sense because you're saying all these other things are provable and knowable. And so we know
these other things at one time in the past
they were not
mysterious.
Mysterious. So now that we know these are provable and knowable and why they happen, these phenomena are actually explainable, right? Then
what's your plural phenomenon? Your plural phenomenon.
Yes.
Phenomena. Very good.
Do you like that I actually corrected myself?
That's very good.
Thank you.
I'm checking you out here.
I think it's cool.
Huh?
So and then you say, well, but what I don't know here. I just think that this is God doing this. But then our knowledge, our bubble, our knowledge expands.
Right.
It encompasses that event. That event is no longer now attributed to God. That event is also now provable and knowable. Mm-hmm. And then that now cannot be.
So philosophers call this the God of the gaps.
What's it called?
Philosophers call it the God of the gaps.
God of the gaps.
Right.
So in other words, wherever your understanding fails you fill it in with God.
Fill it in with God.
Okay.
And by the way, this is a long tradition to do so. Okay. Isaac Newton did it.
Oh, really?
Isaac Newton wrote down his equation of gravity, and it described Earth and the moon,
right,
and the sun and the Earth,
right,
Jupiter and its moons. We would later learn. And so this is all. So, but how do you then describe the whole solar system all happening all at once?
Right.
Everything tugging on everybody in all directions at all different. And he tried to calculate this.
Right.
The solar system was unstable, and planets would fly apart.
Right.
Because every time you came around the backstretch, Mars would tug on you a little bit.
Right.
Come around the next time, Mars would tug on you a little more.
Before you know it, you're out.
You're out.
You're out the door.
Yeah, we out.
Right.
Okay.
You in the Kuiper Belt going, it's cold.
That's right. So you would say. So he said, well. Clearly, I know my equations work,
right,
with the one-on-one situation. With the whole system, maybe God steps in every now and then just to fix it
and corrects things.
Yeah, and corrects things.
Right.
He says this
right.
in his 17th century lingo.
Okay.
He says just that.
Okay.
And so that's basically God of the gaps.
Gotcha.
Ptolemy, who put forth the geocentric universe.
Okay.
This is 2,000 years ago. Has a little bit of God of the gaps in him. He looked up. People still didn't understand the planets going forward and then retrograde, going back. And he says, when I trace at my pleasure the windings to and fro of the heavenly bodies, I no longer touch earth with my feet. I stand in the presence of Zeus himself and take my fill of ambrosia.
Wow. Yeah, he did it poetically.
That's a God of the gaps argument. He doesn't understand it. Zeus is
his God.
Is hanging with him right there.
That's how I explained it.
That's how I got it.
That's super cool. See, my God of the Gap is 40% off, and it's not Labor Day. Okay. This hoodie is awesome. Okay.
We got to take.
We are told, and I have to believe it, that everywhere is, as it were, the same as everywhere else. There's no one place which is the edge of the universe. How can that be?
Well, Richard, first of all, you said you're told it, so you have to believe it. I will never require you to believe anything.
Good for you.
It will only ever be about how compelling is the evidence to you. Look around the universe, and it looks like we're in the center. What an ego-supporting concept that is. You can either go around continuing to think that, feeling good about yourself, or study the problem and learn that in an expanding universe where the speed of light is finite at 186,000 miles per second. Forgive me using miles per second.
I prefer miles.
You do? You got that on tape. You're an Oxford professor.
No, it's true. Nobody talks about kilometers in Britain.
Oh, good. All right. So we share not only most of our language, we share miles still. And inchworms, what do they call them? They're not centimeter worms, right? They're inchworms.
We don't have that sort of stuff in Britain. That's Europe.
But Britain is not Europe, as we're constantly reminded. That's right. Here we have the English breakfast and the continental breakfast. They're very different breakfasts that you can order here. So this horizon problem is actually quite simple. And rather than explain the full-up nature of it, let me just give a simple example that is entirely analogous. When you're a ship at sea and you look out, your horizon in every direction is the same distance from you. Depends on your height above the sea level. That's why ship decks are high. They see farther beyond the curvature of the earth than you do just standing on the main deck. So your horizon is a perfect circle centered on you. You can conclude that is the extent of the entire earth. Or you can imagine, suppose I'm in another spot. Well, that horizon is still true for whoever happens to be in the middle of it, but now you've moved to a new place. And you will see corresponding to that spot. And so it has a horizon at sea. You know, at times thinking that that's the full extent of the ocean or the full extent of the earth. We have a horizon in the universe, so does the Andromeda Galaxy. The galaxies with names that look like we've got, if you travel to those galaxies, they will see the edge of the universe now in 3 dimensions, in every direction, at the same distance from them, just as we see for ourselves.
That does it for me, provided that the horizon is that which we are capable of seeing. I could follow that if you said that for any part of the universe, the horizon is the bit before the expanding universe has disappeared over the horizon.
Yes.
Which means it's no longer visible.
Yes.
No longer, but it's still there, even though we can't detect it. Yeah, but, is anybody on my side?
You want it to be a harder problem than it is. I'm just simply saying, so here you go. Here you go. The radius to our horizon is about 14 billion light years.
Got it.
Okay? If we sat here or returned to this spot a billion...
Yo, how about I went shopping and like froze everything. I ain't even leave no meats out to cook tonight. Son of a bitch. I don't know what I was thinking. I put everything in the damn freezer. I don't know what the hell is going on. So I had a back pain. Now that shit come around my side. But now I'm trying to think what I'm gonna cook for dinner. It's already 2 something. I might do fish.
From Propel, a boost to your workout.
Anyone wants to know what was around before the Big Bang?
Nothing was around before the Big Bang. According to Einstein's general theory of relativity, space and time together form a space-time continuum or manifold which is not flat, but curved by the matter and energy in it. The Euclidean approach to quantum gravity to describe the beginning of the universe. Ordinary real time is replaced by imaginary time, which behaves like a fourth direction of space. In the Euclidean approach, the history of the universe in imaginary time is a four-dimensional curved surface, like the surface of the Earth, but with two more dimensions. Jim Hartle and I proposed the no-boundary condition. The boundary condition of the universe is that it has no boundary.
Okay.
In order terms, the Euclidean space-time is a closed surface without edge, like the surface of the Earth. One can regard imaginary and real time as beginning at the South Pole, which is a smooth point of space-time where the normal laws of physics hold. There is nothing south of the South Pole, so there was nothing around before the Big Bang.
But you said space-time is a loop. So if it's a loop, then why would it need a Big Bang?
A mathematical theorem called the hairy dog theorem.
Hairy dog theorem.
Yes, I mean that's just a jocular terminology.
Right.
But you think of something which is topologically a sphere. That means, you see, you imagine a dog shape, but you could sort of move it around with a piece of plasticine until it looked like a sphere. It doesn't have holes in it. Okay, forget about its digestive system, you see. You're thinking about the surface outside. Mm-hmm. And then the problem is you try to comb the hair on the dog all the way around, and the theorem says there's got to be somewhere where the hair doesn't lie flat. And you try it on a sphere, there's got to be a point where the hair makes a kind of singular point. So it's a bit like that. You have no idea where the singularity is, but you know from general topological reasons that there's got to be one somewhere.
And that was the sort of argument that I produced. And I guess a lot of people had a little bit of trouble because they'd never seen this kind of argument. And a lot of people picked up on it, in particular Stephen Hawking. And it became, for a while, many people working on it. I guess it's not so popular now because probably we've run out of theorems.
The idea of a singularity, like, is when you see something like a quasar or the center of a galaxy, and we were talking about a black hole. When you say a singularity, what exactly do you mean by that?
Well, the normal expectation is that you have a place, like in the middle of the Oppenheimer-Snyder dust cloud, a point there where the density becomes infinite, and so the curvature of space-time becomes infinite. So you have a place where the equations run away and they go to infinity, and you say, well, something's gone wrong. But maybe initially it was in these very symmetrical cases. But what you could show by these indirect arguments that somewhere something's got to go wrong. You can't continue the equations of Einstein and they get stuck. Right. There's a place where they go infinite, or what in detail happens, the theorems don't tell you. They just say that something goes wrong. And that's what we call a singularity.
And if a black hole is larger or smaller, the singularity remains constant?
It remains in there. It
remains in there, but it's not measurable in terms of its actual size?
I don't know whether you can measure its size very well, because its size, that's an intriguing question. You might say the size has gone to zero, right. But it could be quite complicated and irregular, not like the original Oppenheimer-Snyder one, where it's all just even then, a point is the wrong point of view, but let's not go into that. No, there is something about the structure of these things you can say. They're not all the same, no.
The singularities are not all the same, but the black holes are not all the same.
They're not all the same, but that's one of those strange things about black holes, is that if you let them settle down, they're not all the same to begin with, but there are not many different things they can settle into. They can have rotation, they can have a certain mass, and the mass translates into the size of the diameter of the hole, and you've also got rotation, so they can rotate. And these are, Schwarzschild found the non-rotating ones, and it was Roy Kerr, an Australian, who first produced a solution for a rotating black hole.
Rotating?
Yes, a rotating one. But then you see the remarkable thing is that's what they settle down to. So there are good theorems which tell you that a general black hole, which is very complicated, fairly rapidly will settle down and become one of these Kerr solutions, the rotating black hole.
I remember when I first saw that documentary, and I saw when they were discussing the shape of these galaxies, and the center of it had this supermassive black hole that was slowly devouring the galaxy.
Yeah.
I mean, it is an unbelievably beautiful yet simultaneously terrifying idea. Is that there's this infinite power in the center of infinite mass that's absorbing slowly but surely everything around it.
Yes, well, it's not infinite mass. The mass is quite well defined, and it's not infinite. But yeah, it's a good question. I mean, if you wait forever, how much of the mass actually gets swallowed by the black hole? You see, I think the picture is to think not just of one galaxy, but a cluster. You see, our galaxy has this 4 million solar mass black hole, and we are on a collision course with the Andromeda galaxy. And I don't know how long, but
some time in the future.
Yes, the black holes will probably spiral into each other, and there'll be one big one.
So it's definable mass, but in infinite density, and that this point, which they were speculating that this could possibly, in the center of these supermassive black holes, if you could go through that, there would be another universe.
Well, you see, that's
total
nice
speculation.
It's a nice romantic thought.
It's more woo. Is it more woo?
I'm afraid so.
That sounds so good, though.
Yes, I know. Well, it's a shame for science fiction because it makes a nice.
Well,
nice
it's interesting
story.
that we try to make things more complicated than they are because they're so complicated as it is. It's well, like dark matter, for instance. It boggles the mind that we don't really totally understand what 90+%.
Well, that's a good question.
And what is that stuff?
Well, you want me to tell you my theory?
Yes, please.
Well, you see, it's part of a story which, I don't know, about 15 years ago I must have years are passing by, I can't remember how long ago now. So I had this idea. You see, the universe as a whole is expanding. Now, early in this century, don't ask me dates again, some people, by observing supernova exploding stars very, very far away, they found out that the universe is actually accelerating in its expansion. And some people found this very mysterious. On the other hand, it's in all the cosmology books, because there is that expectation. You see, in 1915, Einstein produced his general theory. In 1917, he introduced what's called the cosmological constant. So you think of it was called lambda. You think of a V shape turned upside down, which is a lambda. And he introduced this term for the wrong reason, because at that time there was some indication the universe was expanding, but not very clear, and Einstein, I guess, maybe didn't know or didn't believe it, and the Hubble's observations hadn't yet come to make a convincing case of the expansion. So Einstein thought, well, maybe the universe is static. It's kind of philosophically nice to think that it's sitting there all the time. And he couldn't make it do that, so he had to introduce this term called the cosmological constant. And he did that, and then not very much longer after this, Hubble showed that the universe does seem to be expanding. And Einstein regarded this lambda term as his biggest blunder, which is an irony, because it turns out that this term is probably the explanation for the expansion of the universe that we now see. So it's what people call dark energy. I don't like the term very much because it's neither dark nor proper energy in any clear sense, but still, let's not worry about that.
Right, it's an odd term.
Yes, I think so. It's a little confusing because there's dark matter as well, which
Right.
is quite different. You mustn't get confused. But the dark energy, as it's called, or the cosmological constant, which, as far as we can tell, it is completely consistent with the observations. It's a positive number, very small, but seems to be producing this expansion. And I'm quite happy with that viewpoint, because it leads to a picture which I've been trying to plug for a while now, maybe up to 15 years, I can't remember. The idea, it's hard to explain, but let me try. It came about because I was worrying about the remote future. And I was thinking, okay, when these black holes are around, they swallow up all the stars and they're just sitting around. And what's the next exciting thing happening? Well, the Hawking evaporation. They're going to radiate away. Stephen Hawking showed that black holes had this temperature extremely cold. I mean, these enormous ones are absurdly cold, much colder than anything made on the Earth. And but when the universe expands and expands and expands, it gets colder than the black holes. And so those black holes become the hottest things around, and so they radiate away very, very slowly, this Hawking radiation. And that carries energy, and so they shrink, and they shrink, and they shrink. And finally, they disappear with a pop. I say a pop, it's probably a pretty big explosion, but not that big from the cosmological, astrophysical scale. So they disappear. Well, it may have been pretty boring when you're sitting around waiting for the black hole to go pop. But afterwards, that's really boring. So this was a picture I thought of, being rather depressed by it, thinking that's the fate. You see, the fate of all the interesting things happening, ultimate fate, is this unbelievably boring final state. Okay, this is an emotional argument, but give me a bit of leeway.
Okay.
So I began to think, well, it's not going to be us who are going to be bored, because we're not going to be around. But the main things that will be around will be photons. And it's pretty hard to bore a photon for two very good reasons. One is it probably doesn't have conscious experiences, no, that's sure. But the other is more the science point, that they don't measure time, because a photon has no mass. It travels at the speed of light. And the way relativity works, it means that clocks stop, if you like. So if it had experiences, the moment of its creation would be one moment, and the next moment would be infinity. And so they just zip out to infinity without noticing a thing. Now, you see, I've been doing work on this kind of thing, thinking more about gravitational radiation and how you measure its energy and things like that. And it was a very useful picture to squash down infinity. A useful thing to think about here, if you've seen these pictures by the Dutch artist M.C. Escher.
Yes.
And there are those which are called circle limits. And there's a very famous one with angels and devils interlocking, and they get all crowded up onto the edge. Now, what you've got to think about is that this is a kind of geometry called hyperbolic geometry. And the angels and devils live in that geometry. And the ones right close to the edge think they're the same size and same shape as the ones in the middle. Oh, you got it. Great.
Yeah.
And so the idea is that if you look at it from the angels and devils point of view, that's infinity, that boundary.
Mm-hmm.
But from our point of view, we can look at it and we have what's called a conformal map. That picture is a conformal map. What that means is that little shapes are quite consistently drawn, but they can be big or small. And you don't care about whether they're big or they're small. As long all shapes are accurate, or angles, if you like, are correctly drawn. So it's what's called a conformal map, and that conformal map describes infinity. Now you can do the same thing to the universe. Well, I say do it, I mean you can imagine it, where this remote future, you can squash it down, just like in the Escher picture, to a finite boundary. And as far as the things with no mass, they don't have a way of measuring how big or small it is. The Maxwell equations don't know the scales, they don't care. It does work just as well for small as for big, and you can stretch it in some place and squash it somewhere else, as long as the stretching and squashing is isotropic, so just as much one way as the other way, which means more or less that you keep what are called the light cones there. Let's not go into details here, but it means that if you have things without mass, and most particularly the photons, then that boundary is just like anywhere else, and the photons go zipping up to it, and so you might think they've got to have somewhere to go. Okay, well you don't have to think that, but that was the point of view I had, that the photons need somewhere to enter in a way. But then, where does it go? But then there's the other picture, which is the opposite end. There's the Big Bang. Now you can do a similar sort of trick there, which is stretching it out and making it into a boundary. And that can be done too. I played around with these ideas for a long time, and the standard cosmology models you can do it with. But the more complicated cosmology models, you might have one which is very complicated, Big Bang. The general ones don't look like that at all. So you need a condition which tells you that the Big Bang was the very special kind that it was. It's all tied up with this thing called the second law of thermodynamics, and it all ties together with physics in a way which perhaps we don't have time to talk about. But it seemed to me a really good idea to have the condition on the Big Bang that you could continue it in the same way. I should say the idea of doing this was a former student of mine, Paul Todd, who was a colleague of mine, and he used this as conformal continuation as a nice way of saying what the condition is on the Big Bang to give you what you want. But that's a huge condition. But nevertheless, it's what starts our universe off in a very special state, which is what we live off in a way. It's the second law of thermodynamics needs that to get going. Anyway, I don't know if you want to worry about that. But anyway, the point was that it looks as though it's a good condition on the Big Bang that it also should be conformally like a boundary, which if you had no mass, you wouldn't notice it. Okay, you've got particles with mass running around near the Big Bang, but as you get closer and closer and closer, the energy goes up, the temperature goes zooming up, they're zipping around at such a speed that the energy of their motion is much bigger than the E equals mc squared mass, Einstein's mass. The energy in the mass is a certain amount, but when they get so hot, you can forget about the mass. So they, like photons, behave like particles without mass, and so they're just interested in conformal geometry. So the crazy idea I had, not just only you stretch out the Big Bang and you squash down infinity, but maybe our Big Bang was a squashed down infinity of a previous eon. So I'm saying our eon began with the Big Bang, ended up with this exponential expansion. There was another one before us. There will be another one after us. There was another one before that, and so on.
So it's an infinite cycle of Big Bangs.
That's the picture.
And constant expansion to the point where there's no more energy, and then somehow or another a Big Bang comes out of that again.
Yes, that's right. Well, that's the tricky part that people have trouble with.
It's universally accepted that the Big Bang was an event. There's no
pretty well
conflicting theories that are attractive.
I would say nothing terribly popular. There are certain ideas which say you can continue into before the Big Bang. Paul Steinhardt and
what do they think that was?
It has things in common with my model, but it's not quite the same. And you see, it's still. You see, there was not long after Einstein produced his theory, and this Alexander Friedman, who was a Russian mathematical physicist, and he produced the first cosmology models. And one of these was one which has sort of bounces. Big Bang, it expands out and then it contracts again.
Yes.
And then it bounces and contracts. So that was one of his models. The only trouble is if you put irregularities into these models, you get black holes, and these black holes form an incredible mess at the end, and that doesn't join onto a nice smooth Big Bang of the next one. So you have trouble with those models. But still, people take these things seriously. And as I say, Steinhardt and Turok have a model which is like that. So these are things one has to think about. My own view is that they don't take into account the black hole problem, which is that my one gets rid of that because the black holes all evaporate away by Hawking evaporation. And so it forms a model. I used to give talks about this, feeling quite happy nobody would ever prove it wrong, so I can go on talking away at it. But no, I wasn't quite happy with that. I thought maybe you could see signals coming through. So I had one idea about that. But more recently, and this is only just this year, I have two Polish colleagues. That's Krzysztof Meissner and Paweł Nierowski, and there is a Korean who works in New York called Daniel An.
A Korean who works in New York.
The four of us have a paper which I think today or tomorrow will be the new improved version of this paper, should be on the archive. And the title of the paper is Are We Seeing Hawking Points in the CMB Sky? Now, what's a Hawking point? You see, I talked about the black holes. See, in the previous eon to ours, assuming it's more or less like ours, there would be black holes in clusters of galaxies, huge, enormous ones, swallowing up pretty well the whole cluster. And what happens to the energy in those black holes? Well, it goes out in Hawking radiation. And it takes an age. Ages and ages and ages, maybe 10 to 100 years, Google years, or something. Yeah, ages and ages. But all that energy in the picture comes out basically in one point. Think of that Escher picture, and right at the very edge, you see there are an awful lot of angels and devils squashed together there, so that the entire radiation from that single black hole will be squashed into that little point. Now we're on the other side. What do we see? Well, there will be a big release of energy at that point, and that's what we call the Hawking point. And it spreads out. You see, what we see in the cosmic microwave background, this is radiation coming from all directions, and this radiation doesn't come from the Big Bang exactly. It comes from 380,000 years after the Big Bang. So there's a sort of last scattering surface where photons which are trying to get out finally can escape, and we see them. Now, that spread out from the Hawking point to what you see in the cosmic microwave background, in the last scattering surface, is something of the diameter of about 8 times the diameter of the Moon. No bigger, no smaller. Now, you wouldn't see the whole thing because our past cone, what we see, to cut across it, we don't see the whole thing. But we see probably most of it. So you could imagine something from about 4 to 8 times the Moon's diameter, which is a small region which is highly energetic, more energetic in the middle, and it tapers off as you go to the edge. And we seem to see these things. The analysis that the Poles, they have the techniques, and the actual analyzing the data, this is the Planck satellite data, it was done by Daniel An, And then we look at the data and we seem to see an effect which, see, what you do is we've got only one universe, that's what to complain about, so how do you know if something's real or not? Well, you make zillions of fake universes and you compare this with them. There's a lot of technique about how you do this. But Daniel first did 1,000 of these fakes, and they were sort of two sizes of these. You look at these rings to see whether the temperature goes out from the outside to the middle. And there were two sizes, both within this size that I say, about 4 degrees across the sky, and there was no evidence of them at all in the simulations. So this is a real effect. Okay, then people were skeptical of this for one reason or another, so Daniel did another, 10,000 altogether. And occasionally there are one or two which do, 2 or 3 to be precise, where you see this effect in the simulations. But if you work out the probability that this is a real effect, you come up with a confidence level of 99.98% that this is a real effect. So we're waiting to see what people say about this.
Yo, Bacon Bits, what's up? All right, I do plan on putting some notes on real quick. Hold on. Hey, with the monkeys. Some people say we monkey around. It's a singing and do it all over the town. Hey, with the monkeys. Yo, when I used to watch that show as a kid, I thought it was just a TV show about a band, not knowing that the Monkees were like a real band in real life. I was like, wait a minute. They really be going around singing these songs? I ain't gonna lie. I used to monkey around a lot. Like, had to get the monkey off my back. Bam with the monkeys. Some people say we monkey well. Sound like somebody out there vacuuming their porch. Alright, my phone fell on the floor. That's the only reason. I don't feel like bending over to pick it up right now. I'm gonna get it in a second. My back is hurting. Like, real bad. Like, I think I need some ibuprofen or something. Like, that bad where I'm gonna take some drugs. Like, real drugs. They got incredible Hulk arms. That's a hard working man, yo. What it do though? Damn, I'm already at 2 hours. What time is it? Yo, I ain't even make it to his hand. I just paint the arm. I'm getting hungry. It's past lunchtime. Boston, what's up? Oh, thank you, thank you. Yo, my back is fucking killing me. Yeah. You see the hand looks good, but there's still a lot of choppier brush strokes on there. This is a little more smoothly blended in. So that's what that third layer of paint helps to get those final details in there and smooth up some of these heavier brush strokes. You ain't never lied, bruh. I already let him know. As soon as I seen the picture, like, bruh, this not an easy paint. I got to charge you. My man said money is not an object. I said, okay, baller. Oh shit. You should have told me that. Money is not an object. No, he says money isn't a problem. Okay. All right. I like talking to people who talk like that. You my type of person. See, he don't got no problems with money. This is his second one too. This not his first painting he's gotten. And the first painting was on a canvas this size as well. So he's gotten 2 big paintings from me. He don't put some bread in my pocket, yo. I like him. He's my friend. So this is a painting I'm doing of his dad. And that bad boy cold. I can't even hate on myself, bro. Damn, that shit look good. You know? And it's just... I'm liking it. I'm gonna try to finish it up between today and tomorrow. I can ship it out one day next week. MK11. What's that? That brain pill? Oh, this is not good. Oh my god. Holy shit. just saw something that's kind of terrible. Yo, I got plants growing in my gutters, yo. What the fuck? You see the flowers that's in my rain gutter? Damn. I guess I need to clean my gutters out. But I'm gonna have to buy me a harness and climb out the window. I'm not paying nobody else to do that shit. Damn, I got whole plants growing out of my damn gutters. Word? For reals? Yeah, they kind of big too. How long they been growing? That's crazy, bro. I got flowers in my goddamn That ain't good at all. That not good. I'm gonna have to get out there some kind of way and get that shit. Cause that ain't gonna work right. Oh, as soon as I'm about to leave, now everybody wanna come in here. I'm hungry. Alright. Y'all heard about that explosion in Philadelphia? The largest oil refinery on the East Coast blew up this morning. Not like just a little bit, but like a lot. Like big. You never seen that. Yeah, that ain't good, dog. I mean, my gutters ain't never been cleaned out. We got soil and nutrients all in there that goddamn germinating seed and shit. I have a whole damn plant, a whole tree falling off the side of my house this winter. Timber! Where that tree come from? Oh, it was in my gutter. Hey, don't be picking at my feet. It's hot up in here, man. I'm getting tired of wearing socks and sneakers in here. Damn. I'll get me some closed toe sandals.
What? She's ziplining with Little John?
This is not just a refinery. In fact, we've just got video coming in. Hopefully we can run it. That's a live look at the actual fire now. But let's be clear. The Philadelphia Energy Solutions refinery, 330,000 barrels a day, the biggest refinery on the East Coast, blew up about 30 minutes ago. And that explosion, like I said, actually was felt tens of miles away. That is the video of the explosion. I want you to watch this, guys. It's on fire. And you're going to... That is the largest oil refinery in the East Coast, like I said. Now, Philadelphia Energy Solutions, who are they? They're a private company. They filed for bankruptcy last year. They came out of bankruptcy earlier this year, but it's part of a joint venture, guys, between the Carlyle Group, Sunoco, and their parent company, Enterprise Transfer Partners. That's, of course, the $54 billion pipeline company, ticker symbol ETP. So the owner of a publicly traded company. That refinery employs about 1,100 people, makes gasoline, and makes jet fuel. So gasoline futures, we just hope no one is injured, obviously, in this. But there is right now an economic impact already. Gasoline futures, they're popping right now. Again, we know that it's tough already with gasoline on the East Coast. that refinery, whatever the cause, we do not know. How long it will be offline, we do not know. But the biggest gas refinery in America, guys, not only on fire now, but as you saw from that video, literally blew up about 30 minutes ago.
And I live in Pennsylvania. Man, these gas prices about to be crazy. Let me go, you know what? You know, I'm about to go fill up both of my cars right now. Let me go, I'm going to over-click it. You know how you pump it and then it click and stop? You can still pump it a little bit more.
Experience.
When?
You can still get like another 58 cents if you keep on pumping it until that shit really don't want to go. I'm about to go fill up both of my cars right now. Because next week, that shit going to be $17 a gallon. Oh, that shit don't stop. It ain't never going to stop. It always going to be something. I thought I saw paint. And it was my tattoo. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Oh, that's supposed to be there. Whew. I need to stop smoking. You ain't never lied. You're going through some of the craziest times ever. That's why Elon Musk trying to get everybody off that gasoline, man. Let's go electric, bro. I mean, an electric car factory may have the potential of blowing up. But it ain't gonna be gasoline and jet fuel all spewed on the topsoil everywhere. That shit, wow. Somebody told me that shit this morning. They was like, yo, what's going on in Philly? And my response is, how many times do I have to tell you I don't live in Philadelphia? Oh, yeah, that is right. Motherfuckers think just because I'm in Pennsylvania, people don't even think, like, this how dumb some country people are, yo. Like, they think Philadelphia is a state to itself. It's just this really giant place the size of Pennsylvania. It's like, it's not, bro. Philly ain't that big. Everybody don't, that's like, you tell somebody from Georgia, like, oh, you from Atlanta? Like, no. Everybody in Georgia doesn't live in Atlanta. I don't live in Atlanta. It's like Pennsylvania. Everybody who lives in Pennsylvania, we're not from Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. That's not the only two cities here. Pennsylvania is a really big state, dude. Yo, you okay? I heard what went down in Philly. What went down in Philly? You ain't heard? I don't live in Philadelphia. I'm damn near 3 hours from Philly. You know how long it take me to get to Philly? On a bad day with a lot of traffic? Man, listen. That ain't right down the road. That's a drive. You gotta really drive to Philly. You know what I'm saying? That ain't some I'll be right back. I never got a chance to finish this one yet. Yeah, this is what I was working on before I started that painting, because I'm getting paid to do that. So I was like, screw this shit. This can wait. I gotta do this. But this is more important because I'm getting paid to do this. And nobody's paying me to paint this one, so. She'll be alright. She pretty though. Ooh, damn, girl, look at your eyes. Oh, beautiful sister. What? Our hair gonna be sharp. I got a little texture to the hair started up. See that afro sticking off the canvas? Got some gold leaf on there, make it twinky twinky. But this is definitely gonna be something crazy. It's gonna be hot. It is looking pretty good though. Alright, like I said, let me get out of here for a little while, do some things. I gotta do a couple things around the house and fix me something to eat. And go gas up my vehicles. Cause this shit happened today. That oil refinery blowing up happened earlier this morning. I can already see tomorrow morning when gas stations open up, you know how they had the people out there with the suction cup on the big pole changing the sign. Watch what I tell you now, tomorrow everybody gonna be out there adding 72 cents. Your gas was goddamn $3.16. They gonna take that one down and put a 7. Now gonna be $3.76, and it's like, god damn. Overnight. Come on, oh well, we don't know when we gonna get some more gas. That's why I gotta find a job closer to home, yo. I get tired of the job. I spend about $75 a week in gas. You know how much that is in a month? $75 a week times 4. Alright guys, I'm starting to complain about stuff. Let's not do that. Y'all guys have a blessed day. I'll see y'all later on. Peace.